Okay, welcome back to Aligned as Fuck. Today I'm here with Theresa Lambert, and she's somebody who I met in Tulum, Mexico, which is amazing because this place just brings together all of the best people. So Theresa is a business strategist and a coach with an impressive background in luxury hospitality. She teaches, guides, and mentors service-based entrepreneurs and coaches to create and sustain unique to you scalable business models. Her mission is to help entrepreneurs create six-figure plus businesses that they fall in love with and do it while having the time and freedom to play. She's also a best-selling author of her book, Achieve with Grace, a guide to elegance and effectiveness in intense workplaces. She's a speaker, a podcast host of Diaries of a Six-Figure Coach podcast, and co-host of Dissecting Success. So welcome, Theresa. I'm so excited to have you here today. Thank you for being here.
Oh my God, Martina, I'm so excited for us to have this conversation. It's going to be fun. Yes. I just living your life aligned. I was thinking a lot about that today. And even how when we are living an aligned as fuck life, we meet people that we're aligned with.
Yes, exactly. That's how it all works.
It's so simple. So I'm excited to chat. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And on that point, really, it's like our frequency that we are in tune with, like that is going to attract other like-minded people, which is so beautiful. So yeah, it's such a great time. And I love that, part of your mission is creating that time and that freedom to play, because for me, like freedom and fun are just two of my top core values. So I love that you're kind of weaving this into the business world as well.
Yeah, totally. I think this was something that I really learned over working nearly 2 decades in the hotel and hospitality industry. Is like I was in an industry that's 24/7, 365 days of the year. When I was a GM, I was on 24/7. Like even when I was on vacation, I never really was on vacation. And it's funny when you are basically in a business that sells memorable experiences and vacations, and you never or rarely experience memorable experiences and vacations because you essentially always work. And so through my entire career and story with that, and kind of having tremendous success and realizing that there was something big missing for me, I just got to the point where I was like, if I'm doing this and if I'm going to have my own business, there's got to be that freedom. There's got to be that space. Like I've got to be as ambitious about my life as I am about business. Like it's not the whole idea that you can either have one, like a successful career or successful business, or space in your life. Like I was like, no, you can have both. And if it's the last thing I'm going to do while walking on this planet, I am going to be a living proof that you can, and help other people do the same. And I've never regretted that choice. And sometimes it comes with, compromises, and sometimes you might have to say no to some things to be able to make it work. But like having space and time to do things that you want to do and love is amazing. Like this afternoon, I'm going to spend my afternoon at a beach club because I can, because I can.
And I love that. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. Yeah. So something that you mentioned there is like, people, I think a lot of times chase the success. So we get the job, we climb this corporate ladder and we're successful on paper, and we've got all these impressive achievements or these titles attached to our names. But at the end of the day, are we even really happy? Are we fulfilled? Are we living our best life? And I think that's a really important point to reflect on there for a lot of people.
Yeah, totally. When I wrote my book, it was really about, finding myself again, like reevaluating my story and the story of success that I had been sold to by the world. Like there is an idea of success and a vision of success, and it always for me was reflected as in you have to work hard and a lot and prove yourself, and you are an accumulation of your results. And so for me, a really big question that I started asking myself was, if I'm not my results, then who am I?
Mm, wow. That's a really powerful question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's kind of scary to answer too, because you're like, at the beginning I was like, what's left?
Yes.
What's left? And it was like a vulnerable, humble path to walk down, to actually allow yourself to see beyond the titles and the results, or the money in your bank account, or your relationship status, or like, like whatever the things are that, like, you hold on this pedestal almost as like that's it. And I don't know about you, but I mean, I used to obviously be out in the community a lot in Whistler, very much ingrained in business and representing the hotel, and people always like, the first question most people ask you is, so, like, what do you do? Like we ask, what do you do? And or if somebody's like, oh, it's so nice to meet you, so, who are you? And like the first answer we usually give is our jobs. It's what we do. So what we do becomes like this identity that's like everything. And it's like, no, like what we do is just a reflection or an extension of who we are, but it's not who we are, it's just what we do. And
Mhm.
that was such a big thing to like wrap my head around, because I was like, but people value this, people value the title, people care about, like when you say, oh, I am like a general manager of a luxury boutique hotel, people are like, oh, tell me more. Like we kind of lean in, but most of the
Yeah.
time when you're like, oh, I'm a fun loving bubbly person and I enjoy traveling, people are like, oh yeah. And like I can even right now saying this in my mind, I'm like expecting them to be like, oh, she's one of those airy fairy, you know hippie traveling people that, like just float through life. Like that's the judgment, underlying judgment that like I'm like, and so I had to learn to say, hey, yeah, I'm, I you can say whatever you want, but you just need to love the person that you are, and then everything else can fall into place.
Oh, that is so beautifully said. Thank you. Wow. Wow. Yeah, I fully hear you. It's like we tell people our title and then we're attached to that identity. And it kind of is like where we base our self-worth from a lot of the times too, because of the respect that we get from people when we say, like, oh, I have this impressive title, right? And yeah, people might put us on a pedestal because of that title, or we have like a certain level of status because of it as well. But if we can kind of shed back all those layers to who we actually are at the core, and like you said, when we really love ourselves, I think that is such a key to our overall fulfillment as humans.
Absolutely. And the thing is, and again, like I like what I think for anyone listening, like what I want you to understand about me is that like I am ridiculously ambitious. Like if I want something, I will go after it. Like I was like, it was ingrained into me to work hard. And I still like, it is work for me to have space in my calendar. Like the thing that freaks me out the most is seeing that I don't have a lot going on in a week. Like that is stuff that moves me into like my doubting and worrying and ego and, oh my God, what does this mean about me? Not having a full week. And like this is where I do the work. So for me, like working and doing well and like delivering results is part of what I do for clients and business. Like, so for me, this was a humongous shift, like a huge shift and a huge leap of faith, and took a lot of like bravery and courage to let myself really go there, to understand that the more you feel the way you want to feel in your life, the more connected you are to yourself, the less you need other people or other things or situations and circumstances to validate your self-worth, to validate if you're loved, if you feel safe, if you're supported, if you're seen. Like, the more you learn to be fully in the emotion that you want to be in, and emotions we have access to at any time, regardless of what's going on in your life. Like, you can access this right now. You can feel however you want to feel right now. There's no, like, we're all the same here. Like, we're all ultimately experiencing through our bodies, through feeling. The more you're really in this place of how you want to feel, and you're connected with yourself, and you don't need all this other stuff, the more of the things that you value or see as successful in, like, externally, including things like your title and the money in your bank account, or maybe the home that you own, or the place that you live, or the people that you surround yourself with, they are a reflection of your internal state of being. So if you want to change if you want to change, really change your life, like if there's something that you're like, I'm really successful on paper, but I don't feel it. I see maybe, Martina, I see her like traveling and doing her thing, and she's got this podcast, and here she is living her best life. And I keep thinking to myself, it's what I want, but somehow I'm stuck in it. Instead of looking at, that as something that limits you, I want you to just take a moment and say, hey, this is a sign, and it's telling you something. It's telling you that your emotional being and your emotional state that you want to be in isn't lived out. So you're out of integrity with a truth that only you can identify. Like, none of us can identify this for you. But when you learn to understand that it's all coming from this emotional state, from the feeling, from the body, from the being, focus there. Focus on giving yourself what you need in this case to feel this way, but like, take actions that feel the way you want to feel, create an environment that feels the way that you want to feel. I remember, like, in Canada, like a hot cup of tea on my hands would make me feel grounded, and I wanted to feel more grounded. So it's little things like that. Like, I want to bring up a simple example because it's not as grand as you might think. You don't have to jump in a plane and come join us in Tulum, unless you obviously want to. Then please buy the plane ticket and come. But plenty of space here for you. But ultimately, it's the little things. But when you really start living that out fully, that's when your external environment is going to change, because you're going to start naturally making choices that feel right for you. You're going to start to change what you see because you feel different in your life. So even if you would have nothing else in your life change, but you just changed how you feel in your life will look different to you.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh, mind blown.
Wow. Absolutely. I completely agree with everything you just shared there. That was beautiful. And I mean, I can relate in my own way. Like, I didn't want to be in Canada in my apartment, but I made the best of it. And I would focus on, like, how can I just, be grateful for everything that I have? Like, of course, I want more things and I want different things, but how can I just be in this energy of gratitude right now? And then, we become a magnet for more things to be grateful for. So it's really beautiful how it all works out. And I also love the message that you're sharing here about kind of like letting go of expectations of what, we feel like success should look like based on what other people are doing. And instead just really connecting with the truth of who we are and really what makes us happy. And we can also use other people's examples that we see as clues, like if you're like, oh, that person, what they're doing seems really exciting. If that lights something in you, that could be a sign that that's something that you desire. And to not look at it from like a place of jealousy, but from like inspiration, right?
Yes, and evidence.
Mm,
Like for me, it's like, boom, it's possible. Like if
yeah.
she can do it, so can I. If
Yes.
he can do it, so can I. Like
Yeah.
rather than, oh, they have that and I can't have it. It's been this like, okay. What else is there? Like it's that curiosity, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. What I love to talk about is kind of like that journey of transitioning. So when we're in the career or in the job that we're maybe not super happy in, and we're like, okay, making the decision, like, I want to do my own thing. Like, I have gifts and things that I want to share with the world. And I want to be in control of my schedule, of my life, my income, all this sort of stuff. What does that sort of transition period, or how did that go for you?
Wow, like it took me 3 years to make the decision to ultimately move on from my career. I was burned out, really, really burned out, and I felt really unhappy while having everything.
Mm,
Everything that I thought I needed to be happy, everything I thought I needed to be successful. So to your point, I had the title, I had the recognition, I had the validation, I had the results. I like was at a pinnacle of my career doing something that other people work a lifetime for. And I didn't want it. I was struggling in it. And that was a really pivotal moment for me to recognize that there was something not right. And again, like how burned out I was and how I was feeling was a sign that it wasn't right. And it was really difficult. And so if you're listening and you maybe thought that what you're doing now you would love, or maybe you have worked really fucking hard to get to where you are now, because I know I did, and you don't feel the way you want to feel, one thing I want you to know is it's okay. It's okay. And for me, it all started by going on this internal journey, and I was really helping myself. And as I was helping myself, I became a health coach. I did that health coaching certification, not to become a health coach, not to go, like, I didn't, at that point in time, I was like, I don't know, like my own business, like that wasn't it. And it definitely wasn't coaching. Like it was just not on my radar. But what I did is I allowed myself to naturally just keep, moving forward. And the more I learned, the more sort of came in. So approach this thought with curiosity of, oh, could there be more for me? What if I would do something different? And just kind of dip your toe in. I think sometimes, especially in the business space, you'll hear a lot like, you're either in or you're not. And a lot of people, like, if you really want to make it, you got to just quit and go for it, and I want to just bring a little bit of a different perspective to that. Yes, you can kamikaze it. And if you're really passionate about what you want to do, by all means, like, you do you. I think we all need to make these decisions ourselves, but this was not my experience. And I needed more time to sort of feel it out, and become more passionate about it and see if that was something that I wanted to do. And so, this transitioning, ultimately, slowly, more and more got to the point where I was like, why am I keep investing time into something that I ultimately know I don't want to do, instead of taking a chance on myself? And it got to the point for me where I was offered an opportunity to step into a different role, a VP role, and continue to grow the business and other businesses for the owners. And I ended up turning it down and decided to go into my business instead, but like it got to this point, but it was kind of like leading up to that. And there was so many times I was like, I'm going to quit. And then I just couldn't, because it was hard. And listen up, like, golden handcuffs are freaking real. Golden handcuffs are real. Like, I will fully admit, like, I was earning a shit ton of money and it was amazing to get that paycheck every 2 weeks, and the thought of going in on myself, even though I knew that I would be able to make it happen, was really scary because I had a lot of financial abundance. And I was like, am I really willing to let that go? Right. And so there's things you're going to have to work on. So for me, the transition came when I really was like, okay, I'm ready to choose now. I'm in a good position. I also saved a lot of money before I ended up making that decision. So I left with a cushion in my bank account, and things were looking great until the pandemic hit. And then I had to change my entire business model. So I left my job in January 15th, 2020 was my last day as a GM. And then I took like a month off because I was like, it's going to be great. And I was going to do hotel management consulting and hospitality consulting. And so I was having conversations with people and I'm having things lined up. And then all my contracts went down the toilet on March 14th when everybody shut down. And I scrambled. Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's crazy. So then you were kind of to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. And I was just like scrambling, I wrote my book that year, which was like the one like big success of 2020 was writing that book and becoming an Amazon bestselling author. Like that was all exciting, but I had a really hard time letting go. I was like, my plan was to work with leaders in hospitality, executives in hospitality, and do executive leadership coaching, that type of stuff, do workshops, create high performance teams, and then do a lot on the business side, specifically to hotel and hospitality. And that industry was wiped out. And I remember being on a call at that time. I was under mentorship. And one of my mentors, I came on and I was talking about, like, we were talking about niche, the niche and who you're attracting. And I remember his name was Bill Barron. He's like big sales coach. And he said to me, he's like, I don't think I've said this very often, but I think you need to let go of this niche and figure out something else. And I was devastated. I just didn't know. I was like, I had spent nearly 2 decades of building relationships there. My entire career has been there. Like, my knowledge is from there. Like, I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? And money was not coming in. Like, money was not. And like 2020 was rough. So it was, it was, I was there and I kind of felt like, what am I going to do? And I felt like a fish out of water. And I was like, I've been in brick and mortar businesses, can I really do this in the online space? Like, there was so many thoughts that I had, including working through this huge identity loss of, if I'm not a GM of a luxury boutique hotel, then who am I? If I'm not doing hotel management, then what does that mean about me? If I'm not successful in business, what does that mean about me? Like, if money doesn't come in, like, what does that mean about me? Like, I went through this huge identity crisis almost, where I was like, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I was scrambling. At the same time, I was like trying to help as many people as I could, like, coaching people and offering support. And like, a lot of people lost their jobs, right? Like, it was rough in that industry specifically that I've been in for so long. So yeah, it taught me a lot about being humble and continued the things that I was writing about. How can we stand fully in our worth and own who we are, regardless of our external circumstances, regardless of the money in the bank account, regardless of the title? It was almost like the universe was like, this is what you're talking about. Here you go. Show us you can do it. Like, put your money where your mouth is. I was like, damn you. What the fuck? Why? This was supposed to be fun. And it wasn't. So it really was fucking hard at times,
It sounds like it. Wow. Yeah. So it sounds like you got this like initiation into, yeah, just figuring out who you are without these titles. And I think that that is so powerful because at the end of the day, everything could be taken from us, everything material, right? And even like the status and all that sort of stuff can be taken from us. But what can never be taken is who we are at the core. And the more that we just practice getting in touch with our true self, like we realize, like one of my favorite words here is unfuckable. We become this, like we're so solid in who we are, aligned as fuck, that we know that there's a part of us that can never be taken away. And that is priceless. That is so powerful. So it sounds like you kind of went through this on your journey. And then what happened? So then you found another niche and now you are a business coach.
Yeah, I sort of was like, I just started taking like every course and program under the sun, to be honest. I was like, okay, like I know a lot about business. How can I fill the gaps? I was like, there's gaps and I need to fill them. I got to figure out how to do this. So I started to just make a lot of changes. I was like, okay, like let's focus on actually getting clear on my brand. Like I know a lot of these things too, but it was almost like, forgetting. I had forgotten a lot of things that I knew, and then I remembered again. And then I started getting some clients actually still on like the more like helping them get through burnout and stuff like that. But it was kind of like tinkering, it took me really a while. And I was just trying different things, to be honest. I was like, I want to help people to really own their success outside of results. I was like, I felt called to be really more a life coach and to help people that way. So I kind of like shifted around that and kind of really started talking a lot about, graceful high achieving and how we can be successful, but not burn ourselves out in the process. And so I'm still so passionate about this, right? Like it's always going to be part of who I am. And it was sort of towards the end of 2020, early 2021, what started happening was that clients that were working with me started asking if I can coach them in business. And then other people started coming out of the woodworks and asked if I was doing business coaching. And it was so funny because I think after leaving the hotel, I was like, I'm done with business. I am not going to do business. And everybody who knew me was like, I was like, yeah, I'm doing my business. And they're all like, oh, so you're doing business coaching. And I was like, no. No, it's not what I'm doing. It was just so like wild, I was like determined to not do it. But then people started coming out and I started like figuring out, how to get more people joining my free stuff, how like started growing my community. I was like, okay, things are working. And I was launching stuff and it was working. And then, yeah, like people literally started calling me, even like people I was in mentorship spaces with, and they're like, oh, how do you do this? How do you do that? And so I was like, maybe I need to get out of my own way here and start to actually accept and realize that business and business strategy is just natural for me. Honestly, like you talk about alignment, it's aligned with me. It's how I think. Like I just can't help it. Like if you have a business and you like, I spend 5-10 minutes with somebody talking about their business, I can give them a few things that I know will make a huge difference in their businesses right away. Like this happened just the other day. I was talking to someone and literally like 5 days later, she pitched her new higher price for the first time. And the person said yes and signed up. She's like, you literally just gave me a raise. Like, this is amazing. And I was like, there you go. Like, this is how you're going to get to your 10K goal. Like, no problem. Like, it's things like that. Like, it's just aligned. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to do that. And maybe I should work with coaches and entrepreneurs and really build that. So I pivoted to that. And it really took a lot of me stepping into that and acknowledging that I could use my career and all the knowledge I have from scaling a hospitality hotel business to 8 figures, and I can use all that knowledge of sales and marketing and the in the hospitality industry, and I can reapply it and mix it with strategies in the online space. And that's how I was doing it. It was working for me. And I was like, I knew it's going to work for other people. And so that's how I started to pivot. And 2021, definitely things have started taking off, more things were happening. And it wasn't until pretty much the last like 45 days of the year that I ended up really pulling things together. And it was my first 6-figure year in business.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went from like, I think I made $16,500 in sales in 2020 to hitting pretty much exactly $100,000 in 2021.
Oh, that's incredible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's how that pivot happened. And now I'm still doing it, you know? And I'm focusing on doing it without burning out, because 2022 last year, it's actually my 1 year, call it my 1 year singleversary today. 12 months ago, I decided to leave my marriage, and I left my home on May 2nd, 2022.
Oh, wow.
And what happened after leaving and dismantling my life and 16 years of what I was living was that I realized that I'd managed again to build my business in a way that really relied on me, and I was getting burned out. And so between navigating the separation, packing up my stuff, you know, really tending to my healing and my emotions and taking up space, I was struggling to keep it together and to keep promoting my business and to keep growing my business and to serve clients. And like, I was like, wow, like I've built this machine, and it was like, I had huge momentum going into 2022. And then it was like, I hit a brick wall. So in 2022, like really reinforced for me the importance of having, like the importance of asking for help when you need it, to bring other people in that can really support you, you know, if you have a business. But I think that also speaks true if you're working in an organization, you know, ask for help, ask for what you need to feel supported, and to have really good systems and processes in place, you know, so that you can build and scale your business and have that time freedom and have the energy and have, you know, time to switch off on your weekends. Like we all deserve time off. Like there is no reason why anyone should ever be on 24/7 unless you really feel like that's aligned with you and you want it and you have the energy. Like go do it, but like don't have it come from a place of need or forcing yourself. And so for me, it's just been this continuous movement, and it comes back to what I shared earlier. Does this feel the way I want to feel? And if it doesn't feel the way I want to feel in my life, I'm like, okay, then we got to change it. And that change comes with me kicking and screaming sometimes in resistance, you know, like I'm like, I don't just be like, oh, let's make this big change. Yay. Like, no way. Like I can be like a 3-year-old kid that you took the toy away and like, you know, stomping my feet and like I'm like like, you know, but it's always worth coming back to that. So, and I know that, you know, we've had that conversation like when you were on my podcast, and it's just so important to like really stay true to that, like stay true to what's inside of you, stay true to how you want to feel, and be willing to change everything that doesn't fit with that. Like, and I'm saying like everything. Like I dismantled and rebuilt my life and my business in the last 12 months again. And I'm so happy that I did, because now I'm here in Tulum, loving life, and am in the best place I've ever been in my life, both personally and professionally.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. This is incredible. Yeah, it sounds like your entire life completely transformed. So not only with what you're doing in your career to building your own business and navigating those challenges, but also relationship wise. Because, and I'm curious if, you know, if this sort of applies to your situation too, but when we do things differently, So in the career growth and, knowing that you want better for yourself that way, would you say that that's kind of can sometimes drive the people in our lives to shift as well as we're changing?
Yeah, I think one thing that I think it's really hard to let go of people sometimes. And so one visual that I always have is that like it's kind of like our life's like a train, and we're the ones that are like driving the train. And sometimes the train stops and people get off. And sometimes the train stops and people get on. And sometimes we have to stop the train and ask people to get off. But the train keeps moving, and sometimes it stops, and we gotta allow people to get in and people to get off, or sometimes to say you gotta go. And I 100% think that the more true you are to yourself, the more honest and vulnerable you are with who you are being, and own that, and own what's important to you, what your values are, what you want, I think the more you're gonna see the people change in your world. And it fucking hurts to have, people come out of be out of your life. And people ask me a lot, like, do you guys still talk? Like, we were together and married for 16 years. Like, that is nearly half my life. I spent nearly half my life with this person, and we don't. And sometimes that's strange. Sometimes that is strange for sure, especially when people are like, oh, you don't talk. And it's kind of like this, like, and I'm like, who the fuck are you to judge me that I don't like you? Like, but like, it's not that we had a big blow, like, it's not that we had a big blow up or we were like fighting like crazy. Like the thing is, like, we actually, I would say, at a very like peaceful, friendly separation. But yeah, that is just not on the table right now. And honestly, I'm okay with that. But it took a while, to say I'm okay with that. And it's just right now we're not in each other's lives. And maybe one day there could be a friendship, and maybe not. But I think that at this point in time, it's not really conducive or supportive, I should say, to my journey or to his. And we have to be able to accept that. So if you lose people along the way of changing, just know that that it's for the benefit of you both. It's not a punishment or any of that. And what can you learn from that? Like, use it as a learning, and allow them to just, if somebody wants to get off your train, stop and let them get off your goddamn train. The last thing you want is being on a train with passengers who don't want to be there.
Yes.
Like, don't do it. Don't do it. Pull the emergency brake and be like, there you go, you can get out now. Because when you have people in your life, and Martina, like, I love, I'm sure you can relate to this, but like, the people that have come into my life in the last 12 months have blown my mind. Like, I'm just like, wow, like, how is it that I get to meet these kind of people?
It's incredible. Yeah. And I mean, I think as humans, one of our biggest challenges is all of this, right? Like this attachment to, it's like we want things to always stay the same. There's a part of us that wants things to stay the same because it's comfortable, it's predictable, it's what we're used to. Change can be really big and scary. And then again, like, losing people can be a big challenge, but we are the average of like the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And if we start to grow and like chase our dreams, and maybe these people in our lives aren't on that same level anymore, there's a misalignment there in those relationships. And when we have the courage to, follow what's best for us, it's going to be best for everyone else too. And then, like you said, we open up space to attract more aligned people into our lives. which is going to support the lifestyle that we are looking for, which is beautiful.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like if you want to know if you're on the right path, start paying attention to the type of people that are coming in. Even in relationships, like even in like, dating, which is like a whole other like fun chapter of my life now. To pay attention how as you make changes, who you meet changes. And I'm always like, oh, I'm like, that's good. Okay. I see what's happening here. Like, I've clearly walked through something here and boom, I get this like new experience. And I'm like, this is fun. Like, it's almost like a little game you get to play with yourself. If you want to know how aligned you are, if you want to know how true you are to the core, notice the fine changes and subtle shifts in the people that all of a sudden come into your life.
I love that. That's so fun. Absolutely. Wow. Amazing. Are there any tips that you would give people who are maybe just starting their entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, I would say really take some time to understand what you want in terms of, how do you want the business to look like? How do you want your business to feel like? And make a little bit of catalog of things that you're good at already, your strengths, things that work for you, things that feel light for you. And the reason why I'm saying that is because all those things will really help you to determine what kind of strategies you can use to build your business. I really believe in aligned business strategies, being in alignment with your values, with, who you are as a person, with your vision, with your desires, with your strengths, with your talents. And our business strategies are as unique as us. So there is really no golden bullet strategy out there that's going to work for everyone. But the only way to figure out what works for you is to really do some of this internal work and then, get support, hire mentors, hire coaches, get somebody who can help you figure out how does that tie in with actions in your business? How does that tie in with strategy? And when you do that, you can really start to sort of figure out your roadmap to, your first 6 figures. And yes, there's strategies. Yes, there's buckets in business that I think we have to kind of cover because they're just foundations. But within each of those foundations is a way to bring yourself in so that whatever actions you take feel good for you, and the way you build your business feels good for you. Because when you feel good in how you show up in your business, you'll be able to actually get past all those obstacles and challenges and the times you're trying and it's not working. And, because you're not just going to hang up a shackle and people are coming. Like it requires you to do work and screw things up. And it takes a while for momentum to build. But if you're feeling good in how you do it and you have a plan, it'll stop you from just driving yourself crazy or feel like giving up at every single turn you take. And so that is my big tip, I would say.
Thank you so much for that. Wow. And I love that you talk about doing the inner work and that our strategies are going to be unique to us, because I think you've told me before that you actually use human design with people that you work with in their business, which obviously I'm obsessed with because I believe that is what we should all be doing. There is no one size fits all, right?
No, there really isn't. And things like human design or even our astrology, it can really it can just help add another layer and another guiding hand, for us to be able to say, hey, how can we do that? And also stop us from sometimes sabotaging in business. And when I know somebody's human design and like with the studies that I've done around it, it just really helps me to guide them in the right direction, because, you know, somebody who's a Manny-Gen is going to have a very different approach and pace than a projector. And so even just that knowledge alone helps me. So when I guide people on strategies, or when we come up with a plan, we can really come up with something that works for them and that feels good for them and that taps into, you know, their strategy and their authority. And so, yeah, with my private clients, I have somebody do a reading for them and I take notes, and I really consider that as I map out what their business model can look like and their strategy can look like, because it's made a huge difference for me as a Manny-Gen. I'm a 3/5 Manny-Gen with an emotional authority. And it's also like over the years, I've really learned where I used human design as an excuse to not do certain things instead of using it as, you know, a strength and being like, okay, here's where I just have to pay a little more attention because I have the tendency to move fast, right? Like so fast that I skip steps, but sometimes skipping steps in business isn't the best, because you got to have some things in place to be actually to get people to do what you want them to do, to buy your programs and services. So it's like, okay, like I get it, like we're gonna move fast, but like you just slow down enough to get those things in place, and then you can go run on your racehorse as fast as you want, right? But like those things are just so helpful, and it's made a huge difference in my business, where I'm like, wow, okay, like I can like tap into this energy and play with it. And so that knowledge is huge.
Amazing. I love that it supported you and your business and that you are integrating that with your clients too. I think that is next level. Yeah, amazing. And yeah, in terms of business, you also mentioned like it's important to have certain foundations in place. And so from my understanding, you know, that's kind of like the masculine structure of a business in a way. But then there's also like a feminine dynamic where we want to be able to, you know, create it in a way that it fits well with our life. We're not burning out, you know, we're feeling good and we're not kind of forcing things. Is there anything that you would add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like what you just said is a really big indication. If you feel like you're forcing and pushing to achieve anything, it's a sign to pause. And to just ask, right? Like, what's working for me here and what's not working for me? And I really like always come back like to this guiding thing. Like if you do like one little exercise for yourself that I think can help with all of this, is to just write down like, just like when you get to the end of like this year, even like if you get to the end of the year, last day, you know, December 31st, even just this year, how do you want to feel? Just write down like, how do you want to feel when you get to the end of the year and you look back on your year? How do you want to feel? Just write down how you want to feel. And then everything that happens when you like kind of find yourself pushing or striving or things don't feel aligned, just ask yourself, is me doing that? Does that feel like, and insert all the feelings that you said you want to feel at the end of the year? And if the answer is no, then ask, how could I do this in a way that would make me feel this way? And that's how you can pivot, right? And that's how you can also see if you're doing something that already works, chances are it makes you feel one or more of the ways you want to feel ultimately. So that's how I kind of use it as like a little guiding post that's super easy to do, you know, and very powerful. Very powerful. Yeah.
Yes, that sounds so powerful. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing so many useful tips with us. I love this. Anything else that you want to leave listeners with today, or where can people find and connect with you more?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to connect with me, Instagram is the best place at Theresa Lambert Coaching. If you're in business and you want a really awesome resource to help you on your journey to your first 100K, I have an incredible training. It's an email training that I've developed. It's called The Way to 100K. It was actually a masterclass and we revamped it so it can come into your inbox. You can download it for free. And if you're not in business and you're curious, maybe on the journey where you're at, send me a DM at Theresa Lambert Coaching. Just let me know that you heard me on this podcast and I'll send you a link to use. And I'd love to just gift you a free copy of my book. It'll be a digital version. But yeah, I would love for you to do that. And that might be a really great guide for any of you that are not in business, but even if you are, you can have both. So just DM me at Theresa Lambert Coaching. Follow me over there. I share tons of really cool content. A lot is on business and a lot is not on business.
Amazing. Yeah, that is so generous of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for having me. That was an amazing conversation. And yeah, I'm just grateful you and I met. That's all. Yeah.
Oh, so much.